I would say more than half of the managers in baseball are making less than $1 million a year.
Yeah,
but they're making like arbitration one money. So Gabe was making less than $1 million a year. It's just not as valued because of the structure. And by the way, like if you could just be the Atlanta Braves and put the same 25 guys in the lineup card every day,
be nice.
You know who your one, you know who your two, you know who your three is every day. Doesn't matter lefty or righty. Like if you had a roster like that, I think that the argument would be, well, that manager actually isn't doing all that much. But when you don't have a roster like that, well, then the manager has to do all this work, but the value of him, because he's the man with his hands and like the value of the player is lessened, and therefore the value of the manager is lessened. So we're in a bit of a paradox when it comes to things. And that's why I think the salaries have gone down so incredibly. And it's just why I just don't think it's a very manager-based game anymore. It's so numbers-focused. Everyone has the data. There's just not that many gut calls anymore. And by the way, I know people pine for that era of, when the manager was a manager and we were all just going by feel. But we all have access to pretty good data too. And we would bitch and whine and complain so much if the manager was out there just winging it. You know, if he was just like, nah, I had a good, my shoulder was twitching, so I thought we'd go with a lefty. Like, we'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? We'd pull up, StatCast and fan graphs and be like, there's an obvious move here. So that's also why I don't, give a tremendous amount of credence to the whole baseball the way it was, or, Brian Murphy had a good question. And I can appreciate the perspective on this, but there's a lot of people kind of pining for the old days of baseball. And I think that the fans are just as responsible as the front office for the old days of baseball going away. It's too easy to get information. It just is. And once you have that information, it's impossible to go back to just kind of winging it. Everything looks really stupid in comparison when you can easily Google any answer you need and have it up on your phone in 10 seconds when you're sitting at the park, much less sitting at home, much less in the dugout with, apparently 35 assistant coaches.